Hey guys, Jeffrey here with another episode of AutoAlchemy, and I am joined by my good friend Michelle Wilson.
Hello.
You probably recognize her from another video of mine, the typewriter series, and basically Michelle and I are writing buddies, critique partners. We've been doing this for a little while. You can hear the full story on her channel. I don't know that I want to reiterate everything, but basically, as we got to know each other and as we came to understand that we were both writers and interested in very similar topics, we decided we should kind of build a relationship, exchange chapters, and that eventually turned into, because we were working on novels at the same time, but that became a little draining.
Yeah.
The grind of working on a novel is just too much at times, so we took a little break to do a short story concept, which apparently I'm the one who originated. I don't remember, but essentially we were just having a conversation and talking about depression. Who knows why? But it popped up, and I said something along the lines of, like, what if people were just honest about their depression? And Michelle is very perceptive. She saw that there was like a creative concept, a seed in that could grow, which I think is a cool lesson as far as like, if you just pay attention to life and pay attention to the world around you, the things people are saying, you can probably find stories in
Oh yeah.
pretty much anything.
Yeah.
At least if you're an NE dom.
Right. Which is, side note, the any domness is probably why we both got tired of working on our novel, because it's like such a strict regimen that you have to keep when you're writing a novel, and you have to keep all these moving parts working together in a very like NI way, which is not very natural. We ignore that a lot of the time. So it gets very draining to work on a novel, especially the editing. I don't think it's as draining to write, because writing you're making all this new content, but to like continue working forever on a story, it's very draining.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But a short story.
Yeah, short story is amazing. It's a breath of fresh air. The idea was that we were going to write flash fiction, which is something I've been a fan of for a little while now, and I've wrote a few pieces before. Have you ever written flash fiction?
No. Flash fiction, I think we covered it in a literature class that I took, but I never really got too into the idea. It seemed too short to get an idea across, but now that I've done it, I'm like, wow, you can really say a lot in 1,000 words.
It really forces you to like learn and flex certain muscles that you would ignore otherwise. Especially like the whole making everything as efficient and as like packed with meaning as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a great idea to try to write them if you haven't. I feel like they've made me a stronger writer in general, and I worked up to writing my novel by writing shorter pieces of fiction. So I started with 250 words, which is really hard.
Oh, wow.
And then moving on up to like 20-page stories, and then trying to turn that into a novel. So, yeah, cool beans.
Yeah.
The definition for flash fiction that we've been working with is 1,000 words or shorter. So
Yeah.
I think that there may be some contention about that, just depending on where you look, but that's what we did. I'm going to now read my piece, and Michelle will tell us about her reaction to it initially, what's changed, how she approaches the critique process, and yeah, I'll pass the baton once the time comes. So, my story is called April/Autumn. Did you have a title?
No. I need to title it.
Especially if you're going to submit it.
Right.
Alright, April/Autumn. April, you want berries with your pancakes? I've read the antioxidants are a mood booster. Laura went unanswered. Come on, you miserable brat, she said beneath her breath. The words alarmed her. They felt toxic and foreign on her tongue. She cleared her throat and called for her daughter again, this time doing her best songbird impression. April! Her voice echoed through the kitchen, gliding its way into the hallway, where it swept past Laura's favorite wall decal. Live, love, laugh, repeat. The echo traveled further on, but then crashed against the sign on April's bedroom door. Beware of daughter. When the door opened, April's eyes were already rolling. She trudged into the kitchen, hands buried in her hoodie. It featured a fuzzed-out font spelling a band name that Laura had never heard of. She'd bet money that April had never even listened to them. Her daughter's post-high school metamorphosis troubled her. The hoodies were 4 sizes too big. Her new friends never smiled in a way that wasn't ironic. Her hair changed styles from week to week, rotating through numerous neons this month alone. April said that the earth went through cycles and people should too. Laura liked the thought, but she missed her little girl and the way her strawberry hair would turn copper come summertime. Laura had never expected April to be some Barbie. She herself was never like that, vapid and plastic and pink. But she had been a good kid with good grades and eventually a good job at the local university. Life itself was capital G good, despite everything with April's father, who Laura would not name, not even in her mind. All that Laura wanted was that April not throw her life away like this. Different for the sake of being different. A crowd of rebel loners was a crowd nonetheless. We've been over this, April said. I'm Autumn now. It's more my aesthetic. Autumn, so gloomy. Laura bit her tongue. Is your day off to a good start, honey? Autumn crossed to the counter and palmed some blueberries. Same old, staring down the barrel of oblivion. She put a fistful of berries into her mouth. When she spoke, her words were garbled. Running late. She slung her bag over her shoulder and hurried out the door, leaving the pancakes and Laura untouched. When's someone gonna ask me about my fucking day? Laura said. The F-bomb lingered in the air, mingling with the scent of syrup. Somehow there was a magic to it, as if something had been uncorked in Laura's heart, or maybe the heart of the world itself. Huh, Laura said, lifting an eyebrow. Scene break. Mom still thinks I go to CG Tech. You believe that? At this very moment, she thinks I'm in some poetry class or whatever. What an idiot, not realizing that I'm pretty bad off, that her own daughter is barely holding it together. Dad goes off to jail and, I'm glad. Really. I hope they give him the chair. Is that legal? Can they electrocute a teacher who screws his students? Whatever. I just wish everyone in this dumb shit city would stop talking about it. Our family. Things were already bad, but now it's a nightmare. And Mom could act like a human for once. She's no angel. I found her weed, I hate this invincibility act. Give me some anger, some tears. You'd think she shits sunshine. I just feel so lonely. Maybe I'll pierce my septum. Autumn paused to pick a bit of blueberry from her teeth. What do you think? Is this a breakdown or a breakthrough, Doc? She stared at Dr. Tencher, the bug-eyed therapist across from her. Dr. Tencher's lips quivered. It looked as if she were on the verge of saying something profound. Instead, she began sobbing. Through her tears, she conveyed a fractured sentence. My husband, divorcing, parents treated me, gifted, horrified of failure. Autumn was mid-WTF when something caught her eye. She stood and walked to the window. You'd think that the sky was falling. At the intersection below, everyone had exited their cars. People were hugging and weeping and praying right in the road. She pressed her head to the glass and strained to make out their words. It was a noisy ocean of nobody loves me and nothing ever goes my way and isn't this just my luck? These words were not only familiar, they were Autumn's greatest hits. She left Dr. Tencher. Something told her to turn on the flat screen in the waiting room. She cycled through channels until she hit a news station. They were airing a story about a Boy Scout troop that had just attempted to march off the Golden Gate Bridge, only to be saved by the interference of a morose yet big-hearted motorcycle gang that had just been passing through. The anchor covering the story kept dabbing at his nose with a hanky while muttering, "For me, it's just the winter blues." Even the president himself was sniffing his way through a press conference on this seismic psychic shift, which he had already dubbed the Greater Depression. He also shared an unheard-of bit from his own tragic backstory, something about being a claustrophobic kid and his father forcing him inside of a revolving door. A part of me has been in that revolving door ever since. Was this all some intricate hoax? An advanced form of warfare? A postmodern plague? What did it matter? Autumn saw now that she was not alone. She let herself say it out loud. The sentence was sweet and ripe at her lips, but then it soured, a bitter aftertaste. She had always known who she was and who she wasn't. It was as clear as the difference between night and day. Now she wasn't so sure. Her head spiraled with questions. In this new world, who would she become? She reached for her cell phone and went to dial a number, but the phone was already ringing. April answered. Mom?
Something that I noticed that, it's more obvious now listening back, is that you put a little humor into the story. There's like little moments where you're just like, haha, just like a little chuckle, like it's a very serious story, but then there's these little things that you're just like, it's like ironic humor, the way that you put it in there. Like April's entire character, but also the mom's entire character. Every character in there actually has like humor to them. Like you're playing with the idea more so than trying to make it super serious, because it seems like you're trying to have it jovial enough that people want to hear the actual point that you're trying to make.
Yeah, and I think it's something that you see in a lot of my writing. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen it in the novel, but
Yeah, like the whole Fox character.
Yeah.
The entire thing is humorous. But
Yeah.
it's like
it's also
off-putting.
dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have it both ways. Basically, I guess I think that there's just something funny about the human condition in general, and I think it's better to address that, acknowledge it. I don't want to write like a serious Lifetime movie kind of thing with heavy drama that
Yeah.
smacks you in the face.
Which is more like what I want to do. Something else that I noticed is there's a lot of like visual, like metaphor, like the way that the voice moves through the rooms. I think you smoothed that out from the original version. Like the other version seemed kind of like chunky, but this was much more smooth. Like I could imagine going through the house with the
Yeah.
voice, even though like a voice isn't gonna move like that.
Yeah.
And then the metaphor of it like smacking the wall at April's door, like April is blocking out that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that sentence was originally like 2 times as long with like 7 commas, and it did not work. It was just like, please. Like people would look at that and just scan past it, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you pointed it out, that it was not
Yeah.
working.
And then, what else did I notice? I also liked how you changed April's monologue too. That was very, like you cleaned it up a little bit. It was like a little bit much before. It seemed like you took out maybe a sentence or two, and that really like tightened it up and made it more poignant, that part.
Yeah, originally I hinted at some stuff happening with April's dad, but it was really unclear, and I didn't know if I should. I was trying to leave it ambiguous, but you really wanted
Yeah.
answers, so I felt like I should like put something in
Yeah.
there to kind of resolve that particular arc. So it's like it ultimately becomes a story about 2 people reconnecting in the wake of like some horrific stuff that has happened that doesn't really matter too much to
Yeah.
the concept, but I don't know, ultimately I wanted, like with the title, I wanted to convey this sense of polarity and
Yeah.
moving through seasons. Like this big shift is happening in the world where suddenly people are just depressed and they
Right.
are admitting to it.
Actually, you do a really good job of going through all 4 seasons. So April's the start, and it's like happy spring. Like the mom is like the embodiment of like the spring mentality, and then she talks about summer and how she misses that and how she wishes that April would be more like how she was and have the change in her hair of the copper tones. And then it gets all autumny, like it's all about autumn and her depression, and then it gets even more depressed, like winter, like cold, the winter blues. Like you played to each,
I didn't even know that
You
I
played
did
to
that, so
each
that's really
season.
helpful.
and then in the end it goes back to April and her mom connecting.
Yeah, so like even though something horrible has happened in the world, they come back together and she's April again. Like there's some kind of beauty from this tragedy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, at least I hope so. That was what I was going for.
Yeah.
A big thing that you helped me notice was that the mom was kind of a cartoon character
Yeah.
the first time around.
She was very caricatured.
Yeah, and there was nothing.
Actually, they were both more caricatured.
Yeah.
Actually, all the characters were more caricatured than they are now.
The doctor is still kind of. She's just
Yeah.
there for a few seconds. I guess the president is also a caricature, but we'll just drop that one.
But that was funny, and I think it's much better having you hear it than
Mm-hmm.
myself, because it's more expressive, and I can hear the tone that you had.
Oh, when
behind
I
it,
read
too.
it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that made it more enjoyable. Even you played to the characters and everything.
Yeah. One thing that I definitely did to build up their relationship and make them both a little bit realer, like I don't think you could tell at first that her mom was trying to be nice.
Right. It seemed like her mom was just fakely nice.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
wanted to like really establish that like she's longing for this time when her daughter was a young girl and had like, was like running through the sun and having a good time, like a more carefree
Yeah.
kind of reality.
And you definitely accomplished that. It was funny, but realistic enough that you could connect to the characters, even in such a short story.
Yeah.
And like you made it one character in the first half and one character in the second half. The mom and the daughter, and in the end they come together.
Yeah.
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 I think you did a lot of really cool things, and I feel like the only thing I really did to help was to be like, hey, this is too much.
That's really helpful,
You're
though.
alienating it a little bit. It's pretty much the only feedback I was able to give.
No, because you also, with like pointing out the caricature thing, the story would have just been flat without
Yeah.
you telling me that. And with April, the first draft kind of ended on like a punchline pretty much, like
Yeah.
she wants to be so different, but now everybody's depressed. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck, man?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that is how you
Yeah, that's how
originally
it, and
ended it.
you were like, I don't really like the ending, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't either. I just wanted to write. I had to like finish it, so I wanted to land somewhere, and so it was always about the relationship. So I don't know why I ended on a moment, why I
Right.
didn't end where I did, but it's always a process, you know.
And that's the thing about writing. I think sometimes it takes an outside eye to really see what you're doing and what is working and what's not. Because sometimes, like, you love something and you're like, this is amazing. Someone comes in and they're like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I loved the sentence with 7 commas. That was way too long. I
Yeah.
was like, I can't. Michelle's wrong about this one. I can't change it. But I was wrong about it, and I'm happy to admit
He
it
didn't fix it in the second draft.
No.
Even though I pointed it out the first time.
Yeah, I had to think on it. I had to let it stew a little bit. Yeah, one thing that I tried to do with this was we were going for the 1,000 word mark, right? So before I even did the rewriting, I would just add in a ton of stuff, trim it back to 1,000, add in a ton of stuff again, and keep trimming it back. That kind of forces you to like look for the weak parts that you're maybe
Right.
too attached to. So I was always doing the trimming, adding. That's, yeah, I got it, and that helped me make it lean, I think.
I love that our styles are so different.
They are really different.
Like, we have completely different styles of writing, but it still works as critique partners, even though, like, we're not writing the same story at all, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, we took the same prompt and went completely different directions with it.
And we kind of, I mean, you tried to get other people to participate, right? Like,
Yeah, I did. I tried a couple other people, but they weren't that into they were into the idea, they just never followed through, and I didn't really, like, force them to. I wasn't going to.
That's all right, we got it.
Yeah, bud.
I think that's pretty much all that I had to say. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about as far as like, well, I think we should probably talk a little bit about the whole like finding a partner and
Oh, okay,
you know, like
yeah.
we did in your video.
Yeah. So I know that it's really hard to find critique partners. Before I met him, it was like I didn't know how to find a critique partner. I had watched videos on how people found critique partners and where to look for them. And I don't think any of that advice really helps. Like, what I think is it's like kind of ironic, but when you're not looking for them, that's when they come. Because basically what had happened is I posted in someone else's video that he happened to be working on, and I was trying to get on that person's channel, and he was like, hey, let's work together, like, we both write, this is cool. And we were talking about our writing process and kind of comparing and contrasting the difference between our personalities and how we approach it. And then we both found out we're working on novels that are like similar genres, and we were just like, you know, I need an accountability partner. You need an accountability partner. Let's just start trading chapters. And then we just started back and forth every week sending a chapter to each other. We got about a third of the way through each of our novels, and then we were like,
Break
I
time.
need a break. And then we started this short story because we wanted something fun to take a little break from, and I think it's good when you're writing a novel to write a short story, because with a short story you're really forced to think about what you're saying in a short period of time and how the words matter, because in a short story you have very little time to say what you need to say. In a novel you have all this time, and so in a novel you're not thinking as much about the individual words, because when you're writing it out, it's really not smart to think about every word as you're writing it. But during revision, that is really important. So we're both kind of working on our final drafts, and we can use the skills of writing this short story to tighten up our individual chapters when we go to the final revision stage. Because I'm still in the final drafting stage.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you are too?
Yeah, I would say so.
And then when we're finished with the drafting, we can come back and really revise and just tighten up everything and clarify everything and really think about the words that we're saying.
And how each unique, discrete element is contributing to that overall vibe.
Because a short story is a metaphor for a novel.
Whoa. I never thought about it like that. I mean, I think a good short story could be expanded into a novel.
Right.
Like, you could do something with this relationship, this concept, and you could definitely do something with your story. Not that you need to. I think they're good as short stories, but I don't know.
Don't give me another idea for a novel. I have too many.
I guess I'm describing it like a short story is an accordion, and you have the potential to make music by unfolding it into something
Exactly.
even more. I just wanted to try to redeem myself with a metaphor. That's all I got.
He's
metaphors.
trying to compete metaphors.
Yeah, so I think that's it. We're actually about to go attempt to submit our stories for the first time. Please cross your fingers for us.
And your toes.
And your toes. As many appendages as you can. Cross them. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. It's always great to collaborate.
Yeah.
So please check out Michelle's channel if you haven't already. It's great. Yeah, thank you. We're out. Bye
Bye.
guys.